Hey viewers, welcome to another game as the Casual Pro Gamer. Today we're doing a Terran versus Terran game, and it is Sterling who is playing the blue Terran in the top right corner against, Arctauras, who is playing in the bottom left corner as red. So, Terran versus Terran, very interesting matchup, lots of possibilities, and it's all about, reactions to the other player's build. So if one player goes for Marines, you can either go for Marines yourself, you can also go for Hellions, which counter the Marines a little bit better than, Marines themselves. Which then triggers the transformation to, for example, tanks, and tanks defeat Hellions. And they're also very good against the Marines, but then Marauders beat the tanks, and so on. So it can be really interesting. We can of course also see a rush to air units, so going into, for example, Banshees. So Cloaked Banshees right off the bat would be very strong, and we see a scout coming out from our red player here, while the blue player is not scouting yet. So a very interesting matchup, to say the least. And it all depends on what people will want to go first. So we see a refinery going down here, and no refinery for our red player. So that means that blue, Mr. Sterling, will be going into an early factory, and that means Hellions coming out, which means that these Marines that are coming out from this barracks are not going to be as effective. This barracks are not going to be that effective because, the Hellions counter the Marines quite hard, and it's just not very effective to go Marines against that. But early game you have to go some Marines, obviously, because you have to defend your base against incoming rushes and such. And we'll have to see what actually the reaction to that is, because for now still no Vespene Geyser, nothing actually coming out from this red player. Only one barracks so far, and he is going to fast expand, it seems. And there we go. So a fast expansion versus an early factory, and that is, to say the least, an interesting, matchup, because the red player will not have the units out to stop the factory units. And if the factory units do manage to get stopped, then the red player will have a huge advantage, because he has an extra expansion, meaning more minerals, more gas, and in general just, a better economy in the late game. So all in all, that will be interesting, and our red player is moving forward to deny vision to make sure that he has the vision over the map, and he can actually, I don't know why he's not actually taking the tower, sorry, the Zelnaga watchtower. The Zelnaga watchtower actually provides him with with information about incoming units, and he needs to deny that to the blue player, because if the blue player knows that he doesn't have any any protection here, then obviously he will try to take advantage of that, and that would not be advisable for our red player here. So two barracks, both of which are building add-ons. One of them a reactor to go into double marine production, one tech lab to research things like Stimpack and combat shield, and an extra barracks that is probably going to add on a reactor shortly. And we will see in the production tab that more Marines will be produced for our red player than for our blue player, because the blue player is going into Hellions, and I don't know if he has any Hellions out yet. He has 2 Hellions out, and they are currently in the front of the base, so I should pay more attention to that. Bunker is going to come up here for the red player, and that is going to hold off this Hellion pretty efficiently. It is a great protection against the Hellion because bunkers are armored, and that means that the Hellion doesn't do extra damage to it. Hellions do extra damage to light units, as you can see, 6 extra damage, which is a huge amount considering they aren't very tanky. So they don't have a lot of HP. So the cloaking field being researched here, and yeah, with our starport producing a medevac, that seems kind of odd, but he is going to go for Banshees, and Banshees with the cloaking field are actually really strong against they're really strong harassers. They're really strong against anything that cannot detect them. But obviously with 2 bases and 2 orbital commands, he will be able to scan that every now and then. But for the moment, yeah, there is 1 scan. So I guess there's a scan here as well. The scans cost 50 energy, and yeah, if he keeps using the mules, which are 50 energies as well, then he is going to be low on scans, or well, he will not have scans. But I think he scouted something, or he's suspecting some Banshee harass here, because he's saving up 1 scout instead of going for a mule here. And yeah, that is, well, very wise thing to do. Obviously these players know what they're doing, most of the time at least. And a missile turret coming out, so he definitely either scouted that or is suspecting that to be the follow-up on these Hellions. There aren't enough Hellions and other units out to spend all your money, even on 1 base and building a 2nd base now. So all this time this red player has had the opportunity to mine from 2 bases, and he didn't build any gas geysers here, and over here he does have 2. But yeah, the new base especially gives you more gas, and especially for the tech units, that is a huge resource to have. So Hellions once again being ferried into the base, and I think the ground units will stay over there just to be kind of the repair station, because now, yeah, these units are damaged a little bit, and the Banshee is coming in here. Banshee is going to... Ooh, wow. Yeah. I wanted to say is going to be sniped immediately when it gets scanned, because there were a lot of Marines out, but I didn't see this missile turret, and neither did the blue player. So he should have scanned himself whether there was any detection in this. But yeah, well, it got sniped so quickly. Man! So yeah, that was because it flew into the range of this missile turret, which has a pretty decent range. And yeah, there is a little bit of harassment going on down over here. 2 of the Hellions were lost, but it is well worth it. And even this SCV is not doing anything. So the 2 Marauders are going to go to the front now, and are going to try to help out. So as I said, if the factory units are held off properly, then this red player is going to have an advantage. So 10 more workers killed for our blue player. And yeah, I'm not sure if that's enough. He did do quite a bit of harassment, and I'm not sure the units lost. Let's see, the resources, yeah, blue definitely lost more resources there, and that is not a good thing, because, well, the red player already had more mining going on, and although these resources aren't accurate, not so much that they're wrong, but if you snipe a probe, or no, a worker in general, so an SCV in this case, if you snipe an SCV, it's registered as 50 gold, because they actually cost 50 gold. Or minerals, sorry, they actually cost 50 minerals, and yeah, obviously since they can harvest, they are worth more than just the 50 gold. And yeah, the Vikings picking off these medevacs, and wow, a complete medevac Our medevac completely full of units getting taken down. That is a big victory for this blue player, but he still doesn't have enough at home to hold off these Marines right away. So he has to back or draw his army back into his base, and well, now has a large amount of tanks out. Actually, 6 tanks, 1 tank out for our red player, and that is going to be, well, severely hard to hold off. I mean, 6 tanks versus 1. Yeah, he's not attacking with them at the moment, but once he starts moving forward, this army is just stronger than than the Marine plus 1 tank army. And yeah, we will have to see how that actually works out. Obviously, yeah, if you lose one of the big units, that is way more important. Siege mode up for this guy. I don't know if it's up for the other guys. Well, no, it's not yet up for the red player. And siege mode, well, does give the tanks quite a bit more damage. And I think a lot more range. So, it is now time to kind of posture your army and make sure that you're in the right position. Definitely the blue player doesn't want to lose his army in an attack that doesn't really work out for him. And this barracks, obviously an easy target there. There's no way he could get out with that. So I'm pretty sure this factory player, so it's now factories versus barracks. So the barracks player on the other side is producing mostly marauders and has some marines out, but the marauders are just the best against these factory units. But the factory units are just stronger one-on-one, and the starport not producing anything anymore, so that's surprising. Well, it's not surprising insofar that he has some of these Vikings, so he's 5 Vikings, but there is no opposing air force, so he doesn't. Well, there are 2 medevacs, but they don't really matter. Yeah, so he's not investing more money into air domination if there is dominance. If there is no air army to speak of on the other side, so he takes out 1 medevac. Loses all of his Vikings here, and the tanks are going to be sniped by the marauders quite easily, actually. And yeah, the 2 tanks not even getting damaged that much. Wow, that was a lot of damage coming out from the marauders. Obviously, marauders very good against. They are armored, so they take less. Oh no, more damage actually. Never mind, more damage from. The tanks, but they also do more damage to tanks, so that's their main thing. They do double damage to armored units, and tanks are armored units, so pretty cheap way to get rid of tanks if you can get them in close enough and you don't group them up too much, because obviously tanks do splash damage, which is their big thing. So we see the red army now coming in from 2 sides, well actually from 1 side, but splitting up here. And he is going to tackle this barricade from 2 sides, because that way his army split up a bit and the splash damage from the tanks won't hit all of his units at the same time. But yeah, it seems that this time there is enough material there to hold them off. And yeah, everyone just healing back up. It seems that both armies are pretty much the same strength now. And